on City TV. 0550-585832 is our WhatsApp line. And you can hashtag Breakfast Daily, send us a message on social media, and let us know your thoughts on everything we're talking about.
Yes. Exciting conversations coming up. But we have a quick report for you. There's some challenges that have been happening at the National Theatre, despite all the efforts to do many good things for the country. There's still some challenges that are there. Let's take a look at this report. We'll come back and then we'll continue the conversation.
The air-conditioned system of the National Theatre is of a great interest to people in the showbiz industry. A year ago, the executive director of the National Theatre, Amy Frimpong, created a GoFundMe account to raise $75,000 to repair the cooling support system of the National Theatre. A year on, we find out what has become of this project. The cooling support system at the National Theatre is one chamber of the central air conditioning system. In December last year, it was reported that the beams of the water containers had rusted and needed to be fixed. The executive director of the National Theatre, Amy Appiah Frimpong, explains to us what really went wrong.
The portion from this end is the cooling tower. This is the support system, and this is what we were looking to replace. When we started the campaign, what had happened was usually, so let me step back. Usually there's water in here that helps with the cooling system, but because of COVID, we shut it down, and the support system had begun to rust. But when we shut it down and there was no water, the rust is sped up. So when we came back from our lockdown, we noticed that it was in a very dire place and that we needed to replace it as quickly as possible. That's why we started the GoFundMe.
Ms. Frimpong noted that out of the theatre's internally generated funds, they've been able to repair one of the cooling systems.
There are 3 cooling towers, and we've already completed work on one, and we are working on the second one. If you'll notice, this is the first one, and the work has been completed. In working on this, we also noticed that beyond that, we need to do some additional work on the concrete support for the metal beams. But for now, we just wanted to hold the cooling towers in place. Otherwise, we'll flip over and affect the building. And the second one is in process. So what they do is they come in, and you see the yellow things in there. Those are the hydraulics that help lift it. And once it's lifted, then they can work on the beams, replace it, and then lower it again. And then once we're done with this, we move on to the third one.
But what happened to the $1,397 raised through the GoFundMe account? Amy says they shut it down because they were not getting the amount they needed.
GoFundMe does not give you the money as they come in. The arrangement was once we got a quarter of the request, then they'll make a payment. We never got to that point. So we asked GoFundMe to return all the funds to the donors. So it never gets to us for us to even touch and be able to refund for us. So they do it on whoever is sponsoring their behalf.
So are you apprised of any information that truly those monies have been refunded to the contributors?
They made us know that it takes up to 6 months, and therefore we need to check after 6 months. And at that point, they hope that it will all be done. GoFundMe is not, we did it through the US branch because Ghana is not one of the countries that we can sign up for and actually set up a campaign from here. So we are hoping that it will be done as soon as possible.
Speaking to Welbeck Tamaklo, the estate officer of the National Theatre, he said it is a big challenge to repair broken parts of the entire AC system because the facility is old-fashioned. The National Theatre was established in 1992 as a gift by the Chinese government.
At the time that it was established, it was a system that was running. It's almost 30 years now. So, but now it's outmoded. And the way it is, it's difficult to even get the parts, the motors or the fans to even do any, if you want to do any replacement or change anything. Just as my madam was saying earlier, you have to, go onto the market look out for before you are able to get a specific part to bring in before doing the replacement. So it's a very difficult situation.
What then are the timelines for fixing the rusted beams of the two other towers of the cooling support system?
It depends on income. So as we are able to generate money, and as we get some support from the ministry, then the work will go on. We can't go on if the money is not available.
Although they ordered the GoFundMe account to be closed, the executive director says donations to support their cause are still welcome.
We are still looking for sponsors, so anyone who wants to contribute to fixing this, we will be happy to receive their donations, and they can make it directly to National Theatre. Or go on our website. There's a button for sponsors to actually donate online, and our website is nationaltheatre.gov.gh.
All right, so that's a quick report for you, just an overview of the challenges that the National Theatre has as far as the theatre is concerned, the air conditioners are concerned. But we've been joined by the board chair of the National Theatre, and we want to find out what some of the exciting, plans they have for the theatre as far as Ghana, arts and culture are concerned, and so on and so forth. And let's get into the whole conversation about National Theatre. Nana Fredra Ajiman of Foriata has joined us in the studio.
Good morning, Nana.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Welcome.
I was doing right till certain things happened.
What's that? What's going on?
Some team B is being promoted. Sana there too, I didn't even realize that.
Oh wait, hold on. Are you aggrieved?
To my opposite left, the team that starts from the bottom.
Nana.
And to,
Nana
my,
Fredia.
and to my opposite right,
Yes.
the team that thinks.
Oh
They think.
wow.
What you see, Manchester City fans, they have some. I don't know where the chip on the shoulder even comes from.
No, it's not. That's what, you know what we have?
So-
We're suave.
No, you know what you are. You know what you
We're
are.
cool.
You are what they call nouveau riche.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And
You
that's
are
the
nouveau
problem.
riche. You don't have the pedigree and
And then you don't have the
legacy
legacy
of these
pedigree.
teams.
Clearly one.
So
I mean,
you always have to make your presence known by talking plain.
Clearly, you don't know the history. One. Two.
What are you talking
Nana Fredia.
about?
Two. I'm glad that you learned me French.
Nana, look, we'll come back to this conversation in a bit.
Anytime.
Let's talk.
But
Let's talk about the National
When you
Theatre.
come back to that,
Yes.
start with the word champions.
Wow.
Anything that plays us this year, going forward till May, they have to refer to us as champions. Every team. Every team
But you
in
know
the
what you
EPL.
said? Till May. There's a time for everything.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
I mean, we did.
Oh, we do. We chilling.
We watch.
Nana,
Where are you people on the position on the team? I know you guys have climbed
we've
from the
claimed
bottom.
though. Have you seen?
Brentford. It's Sisi Musi.
Aye. Nana,
That match was sweet.
is that what you're doing to me today?
Quickly.
That was beginning of the season. though.
By Cookie.
Okay.
We've
When you
changed.
say
Okay,
is that
the
what
season
I'm
will
doing to you
advance.
today?
We will see.
It's true.
When you say is that what I'm doing, then you know you're my sweetheart. But this one there is wrong.
This one, no. We'll talk about this in chambers. Nana, good to see you.
Same here.
And
You guys started on a wrong note. I told you that.
what was wrong about the note?
Because it's people react from the first things you say. So
Okay.
what if somebody walks away right now? All they're thinking about is the negatives of the National Theatre.
No,
But to be fair,
I
there
think
was
there's a
a good-
positive spin
yeah.
there because
And the point
actually-
for me is that if
Yeah.
the National Theatre as an institution is struggling to let Ghanaians appreciate who we are. We're really struggling.
Okay.
This matter needs attention. The approach to that should not be our primary. It doesn't work for where we should be going in terms of giving us a positive image.
Okay.
When you're building the positive image, then you say, in doing that, these are some of our needs. That's the best way to communicate a positive image.
give us the positive image.
There's
What's
plenty.
happening at the National Theatre that we should be
So
proud
first
about?
of all, one of the things we've tried to do, I had the privilege, thanks to the president in his previous term, of being chairman at the time. One of the things we did was to re-strategize on how to push the theatre, because what we didn't know, those of us who hadn't been there formally, no understanding the institution, and a lot of Ghanaians did know, is that it was created not to be a building in Accra. It was created to oversee the promotion and development of the performing arts across Ghana, for Ghana. Which means that a lot of things happening across Ghana, which fall under the performing arts, should be promoted and developed with this institution as its foremost voice. So we can't be found stuck in this building and think that that's it. And being seen as the building now pushes everybody to think about nothing but commercialism.
Okay.
And that's one thing we cannot afford if we're a state institution for the performing arts. We can't afford to be commercial. We should be able to host people. Somebody walks out of secondary school or primary school or university, has developed a script. We should be able to say, we're taking this script and we're going to help you grow with it at no cost to the person. We should be able to do that. We should be on that level, which means we can't charge the person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I get
and
it.
when you're charging the public, if a 10-year-old has been able to develop a script that is worthy of showing, you think that the public will be rushing to come and pay good money to watch it? You have to do something to draw them in.
Yeah.
So the National Theatre is geared towards that, and that's what the strategy is. I'll show you a document that we developed. We nicknamed it "We Draw the Box." In other words, we're not going to be tied down by the normal concepts. We're going to try and go outside it.
Okay.
And in doing so, we're supposed to stick or maintain the Ghanaian standards within whichever culture you go to, whether it's a Dagbani culture or it's an Nzema culture, whichever one, you maintain their basic principles that make them unique and blend it into Ghana. That's the responsibility that the performing arts can bring to Ghana.
Okay.
And so that's what we're supposed to try to do.
Fantastic. But this wonderful edifice that was donated by the Chinese 30 years ago is the main purpose-built theatrical building that we have in this country. It does have its challenges. Now, we do know that a lot of money is charged for people to rent that facility. So if somebody wants to hold an event in the main auditorium, it's several thousands of cedis. If you've got air conditioners that are not working properly, that person's event is adversely affected, as we know. There are many facilities around, in that same compound as well. So if you're charging money for people to use the facility, yet not able to maintain it, how do we reconcile that? There is a commercial aspect to it. Maybe not profit making per se, but there is a commercial aspect to it because the building has to be maintained.
Well, you can't separate profit making from commercial. You can't. So that's why it's important to understand the difference for us. The difference for us is that we should be able to have the public access us and us access the public without asking them for things that will make us have to compete with, say, City TV if you open the theater. That's not the objective.
So then how do you maintain?
Good. So now the thing is, you need state and government attention is the first and foremost. Then you need the public itself to be interested in helping. So you need to, in both instances, in the case of state and government, it's their responsibility. So there must be a fair attention given to the performing arts sector and therefore the National Theatre. With the public, you need to woo them. And that's what I'm talking about. You cannot push it down their throats. As far as a lot of people are concerned, I mean, Koku's scenario you just painted is actually the thinking of a lot of people. If they come there and their conditions are working, why aren't they working? You are charging money. But you see, it's not as simple as that. And that's the point. And so it's the very public that must help. We just had a gentleman here. He left last night, Jack Ruler. I was hoping you'd even have a chance to interview him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. He runs a theater in the US, and it's a private theater. It's called Mixed Blood, if you want to Google him. They do wonderful stuff there. He depends on the public to run. Although the state gives them funding, even the private, the state gives them funding. But they also go out to the public to get support in order to do stuff. And they do. There's a private theater but they do stuff for free. So the complexity of managing or overseeing the performing arts, and you notice that I keep throwing in performing arts because of exactly what the National Theatre is supposed to do, therefore my responsibility as chairperson. And then when you go to the schools where they teach these things, I'm sure they'll tell you the number of scripts and things that come up, but go stale. If you, a small survey I did, not scientific, but small enough for me to be convinced, or big enough for me to be convinced, you have performing arts degree holders in banks.
Oh yeah.
And they are unhappy. Artists, Gogo is an artist. If she was doing something else, you think she'd be happy. Yeah, and that's the point about an artist. When you suppress them, it's a problem. You know, so we need to be interested in promoting it, in the process solve our problems. We need to get government and the state to recognize the importance of the performing arts. As far as I'm concerned,
currently you don't think they do?
As far as I'm concerned, we're not getting the right attention.
Okay.
We're not getting the right attention. And I realize, in my experience so far, that it's nothing to do with partisan politics. I have to say that because of who I am. And the reality is, when it comes to arts and culture, it has nothing to do with partisan politics. Because whichever way you go, the country loses the most. Yeah, let me give you this very simplistic example. If the government decided to keep tolling in the budget, right? It really wouldn't kill us, would it? Now they've taken the tolls away, is it going to kill us? But when you start killing what is really us, regardless of partisan, that becomes another matter. And so you see confusion among the young people because they don't really know who they are. So they wear winter coats in the hot, in the heat, and call themselves, I don't want to go there because I'll get attacked wrongfully. And it's an academic argument, so I might not get people to understand me. But you cannot have your people in the sun wearing a winter jacket. But it is because we don't portray what is positively ours. We portray what somebody else's, which our people don't understand. That's a simplistic example.
What's the place, what is it that the National Theatre should do more of, or can be doing to change that narrative you're describing? I mean, for me, I'm looking at what are solutions that we can prefer?
For now, we're depending heavily on this strategy. We need resources. So the board is going to go into retreat. We just got inaugurated early, 5 weeks or so ago. We're going to go into a retreat, come up with how to make this strategy work. As a person, as an individual, I'm convinced that the approach to dealing with this is understanding that we need to have a certain mentality about about how to deal with things as though we were a private institution, but we have to recognize that we're a public institution. How we're going to blend that, I'm going to leave to the board to help me figure it out. But I think that if we don't do that, even the personnel don't get encouraged within the system. If Kenufriata and the president decided today that they could afford it, tomorrow the National Theatre can give you 5,000 people to employ. We can employ 5,000 people.
Okay.
And the reason is simple. We just open up offices in every district, every region. Even if you put 5 personnel per district, 5 personnel per region to start. And then, do the math. And everybody, every home, every hamlet, every town, every village, could use the National Theatre's presence. The reason is, would be the body that would document what they do that's unique. Would be the body that would project those beautiful things. Even the negatives, quote unquote, would be projected for us to see that, okay, this one has to stop. But it's the performing arts that reaches the mind and changes ideas and thinking the fastest in any communication structure.
Okay, then what kind of role can the National Theatre play in arts and education? Because we've basically killed the arts in our schools. How many schools have performing arts programs now?
It's such a crucial
and that's
question
actually where the appreciation for it starts.
Yeah.
So if our kids are not being exposed enough to the benefits of performing arts and the appreciation of it and the understanding that it has value that should be paid for,
True.
then we're not going to go anywhere. So is there a role that the National Theatre can play?
You've hit because that's where the solution begins from, really. I mean, the rest of us are grown enough. We probably won't be easily influenced. Otherwise, you guys will change to Manchester City. But so when we go to the school, when we go, sorry about that. I just had to find an example, and that was the best. Or you go to Achimota School, you know, those kinds of things. But no, let's stick to the topic now.
Yes, let's do that. Why don't we?
So you go to the school. I mean, what you said is dead on. We need that education. What we're looking to do, and it's part of the ideas we'll be throwing around, is to work with the Ministry of Education, for example. You know, the government set up a creative arts school somewhere in Kumasi area about a year or so ago. I haven't asked the state of affairs yet. But beyond that, we need to have it, we need to see what's going on with the curriculum in our schools. I'll give you a quick example. A friend of mine, and it was part motivation for a project I took up. A friend of mine's daughter, I met her when she was very young, always came across as moody, not very happy kind of child. And there was nothing wrong with their home. It's just somehow something was wrong. So she decided to change her daughter's school. Took her to another school. I don't know what the motive was, but I think she was trying to find a solution to how to change. And this young lady this little girl was not doing too well. So they go to this new school. One day she goes to visit her daughter. Daughter says, teacher wants to talk to you. Talks to the teacher. Teacher says, I think your daughter is a good singer. So if you don't mind, I'd like to take her. She says, well, why not? Within 2 terms, from bottom half of the class, she's top 5. She's now playing about 2 or 3 instruments, was presenting in front of school for the school.
Wow.
That's what music or the performing arts can do for.
Yeah.
I took my son to learn how to play an instrument. The boy's always disturbing me. By the way, you guys need a small boy. I have one I'm selling. I mean, he has the most beautiful voice, raspy little boy.
Wow.
And he won't sing till he's having a bath. So I take him to go learn the instrument. He's not interested. And when he's not interested, he's not interested. Then the teacher, here at the National Theatre. By the way, that's one of the things we do. You teach
they teach lessons as well.
So he goes there. One day the teacher says, you know, sing with this girl. This other girl was there. She was there singing and playing. And then they strum a guitar. You should hear what happened. I mean, you get goosebumps just listening to these young. And these are the opportunities that the National Theatre can bring to young people right from school. You know, and not necessarily the National Theatre, but the performing arts. So we need that. And so we're going to do that. We're working on it now.
Okay.
This time, the difference from the previous time was we now put the strategy together. Government was doing its own thing. But now we have to blend that and get it active.
So I think that I'm hearing something that I actually really didn't understand all these years. The National Theatre is not a building. It's an organization. And the building is its face, but it's an organization with many different parts. Now, I think that publicity probably is one of the biggest challenges I would imagine that you've had. Positive publicity in the sense that Ghanaians don't know that the National Theatre has all these arms and wings and different things that it does. For example, you're talking about training kids in instruments. I mean,
how many people know?
How many people know this?
I'm learning to play the cello.
Okay. That's a revenue
Let
earner.
me rephrase that. I'm trying to learn to play the cello.
You see, you know it does. But there are people who are always looking for lessons. People ask me all the time, if people knew that that's even an option at the National Theatre, that's a way to generate revenue as well.
Like I said, we're looking at, you know, I expect that by the time we're done,
with the retreat.
For me, it's an urgent matter. Yes, it really is an urgent matter because then we're able to boost this. But yes, you've hit where, for me, that's the negative that should be discussed, which is our publicity issues. We're not very sharp at it. We do things the way we do things. We're trying to change that. Now we have handles, we're trying to go social media way.
Okay.
So the handles do that. People, we're pushing all of that. But we still need more. And I need to say this, partly to kiss up to you, but also to say that, therefore, you're partners. You guys really do a great job with the performing arts in this your studio. You do an extraordinary job. What you just did with the band, that's performing arts.
Of course.
Because when it's a live performance, it's not recorded. That it falls under our territory. And it's music, remember? Yeah. So I've followed, and I'm convinced that unless I'm missing something somewhere, you're the number one partner that we should have in helping us promote the performing arts. You understand it. I mean, Samens will tell you when you did the piano competition.
Yes.
Keyboard idol.
Yes, I tried to get us involved. One of the things I tried to do last year when we were wrapping up our term, I sat back and I thought, well, it would be nice if I had a legacy project that I could run. And so that one you don't need to be a chairman before you do it. You have to run even after. So I realized, okay, well, how about if we try to set up orchestras in schools across the country?
Oh, man.
Non-stop.
Wow.
Just keep going till you filled every school if you can.
Yeah.
So the idea was start with 10 schools per region. So that's 160 schools. 5 of those schools should be junior schools, primary, even nursery if you can, all the way up. And then the senior schools, the senior high, upwards. If you get 5 each, so 10 per region. My calculation, if you did with a quartet, and you don't have to have the symphony, you could do a quartet, even a quartet. You're talking about over 2,500 children in a year. Now, apart from that, you're talking about the teachers getting jobs, music teachers. All of the participants would have learned a new language. People don't realize that music is a language. Those who know music will tell you. To read music, you're reading another language. Yes, and when you play music, you're actually uttering a language. So people need to understand all the beauties of all of that and the power that it wields.
All right, very quickly before we go, since we're out of time.
I was going to recite a few of the things we're doing.
Hey, really? That would be nice as well.
It was a poem?
The time, time is going though.
Sure.
What's the way forward with the air conditioning system?
It's going to be done. It's going to be done.
Timelines?
Truth is, if somebody out there feels like sending us money, we'll take it to fix it.
Okay, resources.
That's for sure, yes.
What sort of tune are we looking at, roughly, if you can give us a sense?
I honestly don't have that figure, but I don't see why you can't send us $500,000 CDs. We'll take it. We'll do that and more.
Okay.
But the point is that we need the money. There are quite a few programs since your time is up, but you can look out every week from this week onwards. Every week, something is happening at the National Theatre. And you see, people don't realize it. For those who like family things, this is a family opportunity to do everything.
All kinds of
so
like Kweku said, the publicity for the theatre needs to ramp up. Because there's a lot that goes on there that people never hear about.
But give some people go to our website, and this time around, I'm going to make sure that our websites are always kicking.
Okay.
And then our social media. So you can look for the National Theatre. Once you type up National Theatre, something will pop
on
up.
Social media.
And then you know where to go.
Awesome.
And then hopefully when people have watched enough, they'll start supporting the right team.
Exactly. We need a National Theatre endowment. Endowment fund.
You didn't hear that, did you?
You see, you just ignored him.
Yeah. It's not ignoring. It's knowledge of knowledge. Thanks a lot.
We've been speaking to Nana Fredua Agyeman-Ofori-Atta, who is the board chair of the National Theatre. Well, Breakfast Daily continues, and a lot more exciting conversations coming up. Don't go anywhere.